Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 8 of CCFR Radio on the Air. I'm your host, Rod Giltaka. Thanks for joining me again. Glad to have you. We're going to have an action-packed episode for you as usual. Among other things, we are going to have an interview with Robert Freeberg, who's the commissioner of the Saskatchewan Firearms Office, to come on and tell us about some of the new legislation that Saskatchewan is rolling out to protect licensed gun owners against this crazy federal gun grab. Also, the Big Boot Gun Club, a bunch of volunteers, the CCFR, a whole crew of people went down and made a huge difference at the Charlottetown PEI City Council meeting. And that was gun owners, again, standing up to the feds on this crazy gun buyback. And speaking of people, more people standing up, Yukon now stacks up with Saskatchewan and Alberta against the feds. We're going to talk about that. Another floor crossing from the Conservatives to the Liberals. There's something going on there, and they are trying to steal a majority. How that's going to affect you as a gun owner, we'll talk about that. And save the date for the CCFR actual physical AGM, which we're going to hold this year. Anyway, all that and more, CCFR Radio starts right now.
CCFR Radio on the Air is brought to you by Wild TV Plus, the best hunting, fishing, and outdoor content available anywhere, anytime, on any device. Visit wildtvplus.ca.
All right, we are back. So this is, I guess you could say this is the Christmas episode. It's the last episode of the year. It's going to be 3 weeks till you have a fresh episode. And typically at the end of the year, we would do kind of a look back at the past year of all the stuff that we've been through. We don't have time to do it because we have so much to talk about in this episode because there's so many things happening that are affecting licensed gun owners that we never have time to even cover it all. It's crazy, right? Anyway, I would love to have the time to just peruse back over the year and put, play a whole bunch of the clips and all the cool, funny stuff that we've been through and the stressful stuff as well. But it's just not going to happen this episode. So I've got a really important interview coming up, as I mentioned in the intro, with Robert Freeberg, who's the commissioner of the Saskatchewan Firearms Office. And I just want to mention something before we get to the next segment, which is Saskatchewan and Alberta too have been doing every possible thing they can on a provincial level to protect gun owners that live in Saskatchewan and in Alberta. So it's just really important that you show some appreciation for those provincial governments by leading the charge. Not only are they doing these things legislatively and all the rest of that stuff, but they're standing up and being an example, for other provinces to look at and go, yeah, they're really protecting their people, and every province should be following their example. Anyway, really interesting interview, and I can't wait to show that one to you. Also, if you remember in the last episode, it was our 10th anniversary episode. On television, it's like 22 minutes, right? 22 minutes and 30 seconds of the history of the CCFR. Tracy and I could not cover, 60% of what the CCFR has done. So don't forget the full 2-hour episode. And it's actually quite entertaining. Lots of B-roll and pictures and all the rest of that stuff. The 2-hour episode is available on YouTube. It's also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Rumble, Facebook. It's everywhere. So go find that 10th anniversary 2-hour episode and you can check that out as well. I want to make sure you didn't forget that. A quick little update. I talked, I think, a few months ago about the Gunny Girl calendar and how we were filming a documentary. We're going to show a documentary on that. And I was going to, talk to Wild TV to have them put it here on the show. And of course, we're going to put that all over the internet and whatnot. And here's the thing. Somebody asked me for an update. And I'm like, yeah, I haven't given an update on that. Basically 95% of the filming is all complete for that. I'm way behind on it because things just exploded for gun owners. When I committed to do that documentary, it was right after the election. And I was like, what is the CCFR even going to do? It's all over. But it turns out it wasn't over. We're still fighting. So now I've got this documentary that I've committed to do. So that will get done, but it's probably going to be a couple of months yet because we have a national campaign coming out. We have a huge contest, probably the biggest contest it will be the biggest contest that has ever been released to firearm owners in the history of Canada. No joke. Wait till you guys see it. You won't even believe it. It's going to be awesome. And the last thing I want to mention before we take a break and then come back with Robert Freeberg is in the outro, I'm going to have some important information for you. So make sure that you stay tuned right to the end of the episode so that I can share some of that with you. Okay, that's all I got for you for now. When we come back, Robert Freeberg, Commissioner of the Saskatchewan Firearms Office. So stick with us. All right, we're back, and via the internet, we have Robert Freeberg, who is the Commissioner of the Saskatchewan Firearms Office. How's it going, Bob?
Great. Yourself?
I'm doing all right, thanks. I really appreciate you coming on because there's some really interesting news from your office and from the province of Saskatchewan. And we're going to start out with legislation that was tabled back in November that would obligate the federal government to actually pay for property, not for property that they seize, for property that they diminish the value of. How does that all work, and how does that help us?
Well, one of the things that we're concerned about, obviously, is that, they talk about a buyback and, again, which I'm going to clarify is not, it's a compensation for confiscation of people's property. So we've heard the comment, as others have heard, that, first come, first serve. Well, that's not, a national program. But again, in Saskatchewan, I mean, we want to make sure that although we're advocating heavily against this and don't believe that has value around public safety, but at the same time, the federal government's adamant to move forward. So we want to make sure that people are paid for the loss of use and enjoyment of their rightfully and lawfully owned product or firearms or anything else that they deem to be banning. So again, it covers the OAC firearms, but it also covers handguns, for example, in the States where, I pass away and have large value in handguns. And now my state says, well, how do I recapture that? There's no way to transfer them. If I ship them out of country, by the time it's all said and done, there won't be much money left over. So again, this gives people the ability to take the federal government to court and get what we feel is fair compensation.
Well, not only just for the guns and not only handguns, because the handgun thing wasn't even part of the conversation, a couple of months ago. So right now, if you or I were to die, what has been happening, because we get a lot of correspondence from gun owners, is the RCMP shows up, takes all the guns, and they're gone. They're gone, and you get nothing. So, that's happened a lot of times because people do reach out and say, you got to tell this story and the rest of that stuff. So this will help protect them, but not only just for the guns themselves, for accessories and ammunition, correct?
Correct. Like, for example, we have a couple of clients. Well, I know there's many across the country, but they'll have, like, say, for example, a single shot 50 caliber BMG rifle, and they'll have 1,000 rounds of ammo for it, which, my understanding is going rate for that prior to this was, $10 to $15 a round people were paying. So they got $15,000 worth of ammo for a gun that they no longer use and no one can shoot. And what do they do with this ammunition? And more importantly, how do they recapture the investment that they have in it? So again, we've developed a portal. People are going to be able to go in and make a claim, and then we'll go to an outside agency to provide a unbiased evaluation on it so that they can now take that document and go to court and, using our legislation, pursue compensation.
Yeah, from the federal government.
Correct. And
Yeah.
again, it's not coming from the province. We're putting the legislation in place, but it's the federal government that's created this situation.
Outstanding. And there's a lot of downstream effects that might have. The federal government might look at that and say, even just the guns and the ammunition and accessories from just Saskatchewan is probably more than they're budgeting for as it is. So anyway, I think it's a great idea, and it also allows the residents of Saskatchewan that have had firearms, or the value of their firearms evaporated by the government, gives them all a chance to take the government to court. It's pretty interesting. Now, in the legislation that was tabled in Saskatchewan in November, there's something else described in there. It's some storage opportunity should the government end the amnesty, that the province will store these newly prohibited firearms so that people don't they're not exposed to criminal penalties. So how does all that work?
Well, the concern that we have is, and there's been discussion from other provinces about, we're not going to enforce the legislation and we're not going to charge. And that's all doable, I guess, in some respects with anything that the province has control over, which would be their provincial police or provincial courts, but we need to remember that there is law enforcement agencies out there that report directly to the federal government, and Canadian Farms Program has their own group of individuals that do that, who certainly have the ability and are not legislated or controlled by the province to come to your home and charge you because they know you have an AR-15 you didn't turn in, or have a suspicion, I guess, that you have other firearms that are part of this prohibition. So then they charge you under the Federal Firearms Act. You go to federal court, again, which does not report to the province. I don't think the outcome is going to be good for a firearms owner, and the cost, of course, of defending yourself in that situation is going to be extremely problematic. So what we've done, I guess, what I feel is a good alternative is create a safety net where the individual can turn their firearm into our office, the provincial office. We would store it under our public agency regulations. And it's basically your property. We're just holding it for you. So, because the law basically says it's not illegal to own these firearms, it's illegal to possess them. So again, when the amnesty ends, we don't want you to be in possession of these. And again, give you ample opportunity to be able to go through court or whatever you determine is the best option for you, knowing that the amnesty is going to end probably long before you ever get in front of a judge.
Yeah. So just for people when they're like, well, I'm not turning my gun into anybody. And then people have I think after everything we've been through, certainly for the last 10 years, don't trust any government. Like, I get that. But what you're saying for people like me is that if the amnesty ends and I have like an AR-15 or whatever, a collection of stuff, I can get a receipt from the government of Saskatchewan and legal storage from the government at no cost to myself while I sue the government for costs, or I ride out this program till the next government comes in that may repeal all this stuff. So I would never actually lose my guns and I could get them returned to me, correct?
Absolutely. And I should mention that I didn't probably earlier in one of my other interviews is that, we are looking at the ability also to license businesses to do storage. So there is an opportunity perhaps, but again, they would want to charge, and because there's a cost for them for the real estate to be able to store those firearms. But in the legislation, it is also an alternative. So we may find some businesses that want to be involved in this long-term storage. And again, that's something that we can take a look at. So if people don't feel comfortable with turning it over to the government, which is no cost, want to go with private enterprise, then there potentially is an opportunity for that should the private sector step up and want to be involved in that.
That's interesting. And I will tell you on behalf of all gun owners, I want to thank you and the province of Saskatchewan for putting in the work to be creative, to create some kind of pushback against this thing, because it's immoral, it's wrong, doesn't help public safety. Canadians can't afford the billions it would cost for them to roll this thing out properly. So anyway, it's really great to have some allies in government. So I appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate the work that you are doing, and we also appreciate all the great work that law-abiding, responsible firearms owners are doing across the country to advocate, but also to grow our heritage through, youth and getting other people involved in our sport. And as you know, the number of PAL licenses has actually gone up despite what's happening with the legislation.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? We're out of time, and hopefully we can get you back for another update in a couple of months. So have a great holiday, and thanks for coming on.
All the best to you and your listeners, and hopefully Santa brings you something nice under the tree.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. All right, we are back, and via the internet, we've got Tracy Wilson of the CCFR. Wilson!
Hey, Giltaka, how's it going?
It's going okay, man.
Good.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to cover. We didn't have a lot of time in this episode, so we're gonna have to race through a few things. We're leaving a lot of stuff out, but let me just throw this out there really quickly. If you want to hear everything that's gone on in the firearms community over the last 2 weeks, watch the CCFR Radio podcast on YouTube, Rumble, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the things. You can always check that out. Okay. We have some important stuff to talk about. And the most important is Prince Edward Island, the Charlottetown City Council. We're looking to do a deal with Big Gary and the federal government on a buyback. What happened?
Yeah, that's right. So I got word from my good friend Angie McDonald at the Big Boot Gun Club that the Charlottetown City Council was considering signing a partnership deal with Big Gary and the federal Liberal government to do a buyback program there. And of course, it was like a 5 alarm bell was being rung, and everybody descended upon the little town of Charlottetown. We had Blaine Calkins, Shadow Minister for Hunting, Fishing, and Conservation, Carol Ansey, the MP for Long Range Mountains in Newfoundland. Jamie Fox is the candidate for Malpec. The Big Boot Gun Club, Don Wills from Atlantic Gun and Gear, all kinds of stakeholders kind of jumped on this. And it was an interesting situation because we've got two things going on. They had the city council vote on December 9th, and we sort of rallied against that. We showed up to the meeting. But on December 8th, Angie organized this meeting between all those people. The mayor was there, city councilors, RCMP, law enforcement, stakeholders. And we sat down with council, not the entire council, but we sat down and we went through some of this. And the problem is they are being sold a bad bill of goods by the Liberal government. Gary's been lobbying municipalities really hard, telling them that this is how they guarantee their gun owners will get some compensation, that this is for public safety, that they want to do this. And you have to remember, a lot of these people, this isn't their full-time job. City council in some of these jurisdictions, like Charlottetown, it's a part-time gig. So it was an opportunity for us to set the record straight. We did so. We ended up coming out with all 10 councillors voting against it, and we won. So we overwhelmed the council and came out ahead.
Yeah, well, there's actually an important lesson in there. And it's very easy to get discouraged. It's very easy to be like, well, it's everything stacked against us. Yeah, it absolutely is. But that is such a great example because previous to you flying out there and everyone else assembling as well, right? Everyone, you got the conservatives, you got people at gun clubs, you have our field officers, right? The Gallant family showed up there. Lots of people showed up there. You did the work. You went from a unanimous pass of Big Gary's plan and the borrowed money that he's waving at these municipalities as well, promising them God knows what if they just help him. You went from a unanimous vote for the resolution to a unanimous vote against it. And why? What was the operative part there? It was that people showed up. They didn't give up. They didn't just say, this is all rigged. No, you showed up and you changed it. And now Big Gary's standing there with nothing again.
Yeah. Like my message to everybody listening is if you're concerned that this might be coming to your jurisdiction, start digging around in your council meeting minutes and find out if they're talking about it. And if they are, reach out to the CCFR. We can help you, but we got to keep having these wins.
Yeah, we can help coordinate this stuff. Okay.
Yes.
Next thing is what's next on my list here?
The Yukon throne speech.
The Yukon throne speech. So you had Saskatchewan, as you guys know, doing everything they possibly can to hold back the feds. You have Alberta doing it, and now Yukon has come along too.
That's right. They stacked up. We've got a new conservative government in the Yukon. They reduced the Liberals to just a single seat. And of course, they've stacked up behind Alberta and Saskatchewan in support of gun owners. And right in their throne speech, they were very clear that they will not support the gun grab and that they advised the government of Canada that they will not be participating. So good news for gun owners in Yukon and bad news for Big Gary, who keeps getting these holes blown in the side of his ship. So looks good on him.
Yeah, really important that we keep resisting that stuff because we're not just going to let them walk in and take it, are we?
Oh, no, we are not. I don't have a bone in my body that would allow it.
Exactly. We're going to fight them every step of the way. Okay. Now, some positive news. If that's not positive enough, some more positive news. This year, the CCFR is going to have a physical AGM where we can all get together in a central location, rub elbows, encourage each other, and have a great time at the same time.
Yeah, that's right. So last year we opted for virtual. We were supposed to get together in Niagara Falls, but it was just after the election, and we just our heart wasn't in it, and there was better ways to spend our money. So this year we are going to gather together and be together in the center of the country. We're going to get together in Mississauga, which is Toronto. May 23rd, 2026, save the date, more info to come. It'll be up on the website at ccfr.ca. but it's a convenient location because it's the center of the country. And no matter which side you're coming from, you'll be able to get a flight. So more details will come out in the near future, but it will be really, really great just to be in a room full of our people again. So I look forward to it.
Yeah. And again, the reason why it's Mississauga is because everywhere where you would hold an event in Mississauga is like 8 minutes from the airport. So very, very
Yeah.
easy, lowest possible cost. And it's just going to be great. It's going to be great to be in a safe space together for a little while. So if you're thinking of that you can make it down to the GTA, most specifically Mississauga, it would probably be well worth your time to come out and hang out with us.
Absolutely. I'd love it.
All right. It was, we raced through all that stuff and we got it done on time. So anyway, I guess I won't see you till the new year. So make sure that
That's
you
right.
have a great Merry Christmas and a great holiday season. And I guess we will see you in the next one.
Okay. We will see you then. Merry Christmas.
All right, we're back. And guess what? I only have you for 1 minute. Everything ran long in this episode. And so what I really need to tell you about is CCFR Field Officer of the Month for November 2025 is Amanda Gallen. Thank you, Amanda, so much for all your work. You and Jason Gallen are killing it out there on the East Coast for the CCFR and helping gun owners all over the place, whether they know it or not. So, of course, you get a year's free subscription to CATF, Canadian Access to Firearms. You get a $100 promo code to the CCFR online store, and you get your picture in CATF, get mentioned here on the TV show and on the CCFR radio podcast. Okay. Don't forget, if you renew your CCFR membership or you buy a new membership, you'll be automatically and free put into a draw for Canuck Wrangler in the Canuck Wrangler contest. Pretty awesome. And don't forget to save the date, May 23rd, 2026, for the CCFR in-person AGM in Mississauga, Ontario. You can fly right there, 10 minutes away from the venue. So more information on that. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for everything this year. Have a great Christmas, great New Year's, great holiday season. Take care, and we will see you in 2026.